Hello everybody, my name is Brittany Huey and I am the Program Manager for Alabama Lifespan Respite. Today we are going to talk about caregiving and mental health. Caregivers and mental health are very, very important issues and they go hand in hand. And I think it's pretty relevant discussing this, especially with, COVID-19 happening right now and everybody trying to figure out these new norms and being stuck in quarantine and all of those things. So mental health, of course, matters very, very much and it can affect all different things. So let's go ahead and get started. So we've got some objectives here. Today I'm going to give you guys the definition of a caregiver. So this is Alabama Lifespan Respite's definition of a caregiver, those folks that we serve. Just keep in mind there are several different definitions of a caregiver and I'm going to be focusing on ours. I'm going to define mental health. I'm going to discuss the impact on mental health due to caregiving. We're going to give you a few myths versus facts situation when discussing mental health. And then we're going to provide some ideas on taking control of yourself and your mental health, okay? So who is a caregiver? A caregiver, again, Alabama Respite's definition, is someone who provides unpaid, around-the-clock care to a loved one with a chronic terminal mental illness, disability, or a special need. So our caregivers are those unpaid family members, those unpaid friends who are providing that around-the-clock care. What is mental health? So mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, and it also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So mental health encompasses everything. And we have to be very, very careful that we are taking care of ourselves, that we are taking care of our mental health, that we're going to the doctor, that we're, taking that time for self-care, that we're socializing with people. And sometimes that's very, very difficult to do when you are a caregiver. Sometimes it feels like it's impossible, but I promise there is a possible way of taking care of yourself and somebody else. We just have to learn how to make time and manage that time. So, as you see on the slide, there are several early warning signs. Those warning signs can, go from eating or sleeping too much or too little. It can be isolating yourself. You might start feeling like you've got low or no energy, which is very, very possible, especially in your role as a caregiver. So if you start noticing some of these early warning signs, if you're smoking, drinking, if you're using drugs more than normal, if you're confused or forgetful, if you're angry, our mood has everything to do with it. So that's why, again, self-care is so important. So if you start realizing you're experiencing some of these early warning signs, that is when we need to figure out how we can kind of take control of that, how we can get back in our good headspace, and figure out where to go from there. So, myth versus facts. So the first myth that we have here is personality weakness or character flaws cause mental health problems. And people with mental health problems can snap out of it if they try hard enough. Guys, the fact of the matter is, mental health problems have nothing to do with being lazy or weak, and many people need help to get better. So many factors contribute to mental health problems, including the following. So you've got biological factors, such as your genes. You've got physical illness. You've got injuries, brain chemistry. Life experiences have everything to do with mental health. It could be trauma. It could be a history of abuse. And you might also have a family history of mental health problems in itself. So again, mental illness, mental health problems, those are not because somebody is weak And it's not that somebody can snap out of those things. We often need help with those. Our second one here is mental health problems don't affect me. So the fact of the matter is here, mental health problems are actually very, very common. It says 1 in 5 American adults experienced a mental health issue. 1 in 10 young people experienced a period of major depression. And then 1 in 25 lived with a serious mental illness. So those serious mental illnesses, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression, that's what I'm talking about. So it's very, very common, as you guys can see with the fact. And it's important, again, to realize that it's not a character flaw, that with help, it might be medication, it might be learning new coping skills, things like that. These can be livable. You can function every day in life. You can be happy. You can live quality life, all of those things. Just figuring out, recognizing those signs and symptoms that we talked about, and reaching out to get the help that we need. So, this myth, therapy and self-help are a waste of time. Why bother when you can just take a pill? In the last slide, I mentioned that medication could be of assistance if you have mental health problems or mental illness. That is not always the only thing that can help. So medicine does help, absolutely. You have to learn those coping skills and things like that also in conjunction with it. So the fact is, treatment for mental health problems varies depending on the individual, and it can include medication, therapy, or both. So many individuals work with a support system during the healing and recovery process. Support system meaning all of those things. Medication, therapy, you might have all of those things. You've got to have family support, friends support. There are a lot of different aspects in the recovery process when we're talking about mental illness. So how can you take control? So, developing a recovery plan. So if you're struggling with a mental health problem, developing this recovery plan is going to help you identify goals for achieving wellness. You're going to be able to specify what you can do to reach those goals. It can include daily activities as well as long-term goals. So, if you have a big goal and it takes several steps to get there, break it down into those several steps. It'll be easier to achieve those goals. You'll feel more successful as you complete those things to get to that larger goal. So it can track any changes in your mental health problem as well. So, if you start with this recovery plan in the beginning, as you go, as you proceed in the therapy and medication and all of those things, you're going to be able to tell how you've improved over that time period. And you'll be able to see what's changed, what hasn't changed, what do I need to change. And it also will help you identify triggers or other stressful events that can make you feel worse. So it's going to help you kind of manage those. So, if you're taking control and you've created this recovery plan, and you start kind of recording down different days, or you're journaling, something to that extent, you'll be able to recognize things that happened in a day and your mood along with it. So it helps you identify, maybe I need to stay away from this. Maybe I need to make an adjustment to my situation. It allows you to reflect on the things that you need to do to feel better. So I mentioned self-care several times in the previous slides. So this is just the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. So at Alabama Respite, we encourage our caregivers to really, really practice self-care, and we want them to do this before the point of stress. So we want them to do self-care as a preventative measure, versus, okay, I need to take some time for myself because I'm burnt out, I'm stressed out. So, you see in my little chart right here, I've got 5 areas of therapeutic self-care. So we're talking about physical, we're talking about lifestyle, we're talking about mental, emotional, we're talking about people, and we're talking about spiritual. So all of these areas can encompass what self-care looks like in your world. So you see under physical self-care, they always say a good diet, plenty of sleep, exercise, lots of water. There is some truth behind all of that, guys. We've got to take care of our physical self for everything else to operate correctly and to be healthy. So, under spiritual, you see prayer and meditation, forgiveness, finding purpose and meaning, spiritual community. So, all of those things are under that spiritual self-care area. And then lifestyle. So, what does your structure look like? What is your routine? Do you have relaxation techniques that you can count on? Have you set goals? Have you broken down those goals to be able to accomplish those things? As far as mental and emotional self-care, we're talking about positive self-talk. I can do this. I'm good at this. I have a great support system. My friends love me. I can reach out to them for help. Those positive affirmations, positive self-talk, those will help us develop self-esteem. It'll help us develop proper self-care techniques. So positive beliefs, that kind of goes along with the positive self-talk. This is where a journal comes into handy. I've mentioned that quite often in several of these presentations. Gives you an opportunity to kind of reflect, to see what works, what doesn't work, how you can alter things or adjust things. Psychotherapy, of course, working with a good therapist, of course, counseling, therapy, all of those things are there for a reason, and they can contribute to the quality of life that we experience. So support. So support is a huge thing. Some caregivers find they don't have much support at all from other family members or friends. And then you've got a lot of caregivers who have a huge support system. So we've got family and friends in this support system. We've got our church group. We've got community service. We've got therapy, support groups, all kinds of things like that are under the people in support. So those caregivers who don't necessarily have close family, they might be spread out across the states. Look in these other areas to find the support that you need, because it's important for you to be able to turn to somebody, to ask somebody to help when you need the extra help, because you will at one point or time. So it's good to go ahead and identify who those people are, so when it's needed, you know who to reach out to, and you're not stressing about, oh my gosh, who do I call? What do I do? So I've listed 5 ways to care for yourself. Of course, there are many, many different ways that you can practice self-care. But I've got the first one here is self-compassion. So it's very, very essential to self-care. We've got to love ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to give ourselves grace. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have bad days, but we have to allow those, move past those. The second one is simple breath awareness for 10 minutes a day. So I want everybody right now to imagine they have a hot cup of coffee or hot chocolate, and I want them to take that imaginary cup, or if you have a real cup, that's great. I want you to take it and I want you to put it up to your nose, and I want you to breathe in like you're smelling that coffee or hot chocolate, and then that hot chocolate is very, very hot, or that coffee is very, very hot. So after you breathe in that wonderful aroma, I want you to blow out through your mouth, and I want you to cool that hot coffee down. Okay, so something as simple as that for 10 minutes a day, that is going to contribute to that self-care as well. So the third one I have on here is mind-body practice. So yoga, tai chi, any meditation or deep relaxation techniques. And guys, these are all over the internet. So if you just Google mind-body practices, that you can do at home. You'll find several different ways. It's very, very good that there is a variety of different ways because not everything works for everybody. So I encourage you, if you do try something new, give it 2 weeks of solid trying before you make up the decision that it does not work for you. Because it's easy for us, if we don't experience the positive side to a meditation or to yoga immediately, for us to be like, oh, that doesn't work for me. So I urge you, give it a try. Give it at least 2 weeks of practice to see if that works for you. So number 4, here it is again. Make eating well and getting quality sleep a priority. So if you're not getting the sleep that you need, if you're not getting the nutrients that you need, everything else in your body and your physical self is going to feel off. We need sleep. If we don't get the sleep that we need or the food that we need, it affects our mood, our behavior, our attitude towards everything. I know y'all have heard of the term hangry before. That's real. So make sure you're actually feeding your body the nutrients that it needs. Make sure that you're getting as much sleep as you possibly can. And then, the 5th one, which might be the most important, is remaining socially connected. We have so many caregivers who isolate themselves, not on purpose. They might not even know that they're doing it. It happens, though. You're so caught up in the throes of daily life, of the work that you have to get done for everybody else, that you say, oh, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do that. I urge you, please, please, please stay connected. Stay connected with your family. Stay connected with your friends, your church group, all of those people, because those people are there. They want to help. They just might not know how. So the more that you stay connected and the more that people know what's going on, the more that they're going to want to help you out. And then you're going to have an outlet. You're going to have somebody to talk to. You'll have that support that you need if things get to where you can't handle them anymore. So how do you practice self-care? So what I want you guys to do, if you are taking this course as a pre-recorded course, what I want you to do is, in the email that you send back to me with your post-test, I want you guys to identify 5 different ways that you practice self-care. It can be some of the ones that I mentioned, but I really want you to think about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to collect y'all's responses, and I want to share some of these ways that other caregivers can practice self-care if they can't get out of the house. So I know you can go shop. I know you can go see a movie. You can go on vacation. All of those things, of course, can be considered self-care. But I want to know specifically what you guys are doing during this COVID-19 crisis, during quarantine. What are you doing to practice self-care, especially since we can't physically get out of the house? So please respond with your post-test 5 different ways that you are practicing self-care when you're in the house. I want other caregivers to have almost a bank of different ways if they can't leave the home to practice self-care, or something to try. And if it's something complicated, you guys give me some instructions on how you do it. I would love that. But yeah, so please, please, please send that with your post-test. So let's practice. What I want you guys to do, if you're at home, if you're at work right now and you're listening to this, I want you guys to pick up your imaginary coffee or hot chocolate like we did in the previous slide, and I want you guys to do some deep breathing techniques. Do that for a little bit before you move on to our next slide. Or if you don't want to do that, tell me something that you're going to do after this workshop is over. So after you're finished, go in your bedroom, go into your safe spot, and figure out a way that you think will be beneficial for you and your mental health to practice, and share that with me as well. So, if you guys have any questions or comments about caregiving, about respite resources, about mental health, about therapy centers, counseling services, anything like that, please feel free to email me. My email address is below. I've got our phone number here. We're not necessarily in office right now, but we can check our voicemails. So we've got limited access to that. If you're requesting us to call you back, we can do that as well. But my email address is here again. Any questions, comments, anything that you guys would like to see in future trainings, please, please, please shoot me an email and let me know. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this and have learned, if you didn't already know, how important your mental health is as a human being in general, but more importantly as a caregiver, somebody who is constantly taking care of somebody else. I do want to say that I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. We wouldn't be able to survive without y'all. So please, please hang in there. If you guys need any ideas of any of these techniques or mind-body relaxation or anything like that, you can also email me. I've got resources for that as well. Thank you very much for participating, and look for some new ones within the next few weeks, okay?